Singing Back the Buffalo. It's one of many selections at this year's Imaginative Multimedia Festival. The festival is a celebration of Indigenous creators in film, media design, music, and other storytelling formats. It kicks off tomorrow in Toronto and is online next week. And marking this year is the festival's 25th anniversary. Lindsay Monter is the festival's artistic director. She is Mohawk from the Six Nations of the Grand River. Lindsay, hello.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
For those who aren't familiar with your festival, what can you tell us about it?
Imaginative is the world's largest presenter of Indigenous screen content. We present film programming from, not just in Canada, but across the globe. International Indigenous works are featured in our film and digital and interactive works. So that includes all new media, AR, VR, XR, video games, projections, immersive space experiences, audio works, including podcasting, experimental soundscapes. We have arts exhibitions in our art crawl. We have 5 exhibitions we're partnering with this year in the downtown core of Toronto. So we're kind of like hopping from exhibition to exhibition, and it's ending with a closing party at the Royal Ontario Museum, hosted by Kent Monkman Studio. Oh man, we have so much. We have industry days, so people who purchase a festival pass can access our industry panels and workshops, keynote speeches, networking opportunities, industry networking.
So much going on, so much happening.
That's only scratching the surface.
Now, and you talk about the different forms and the different media platforms, of course, that are now part of our everyday. How would you describe how Indigenous cinema and other creative spaces have changed in the past few years?
Yeah, there's definitely been a huge wave of we can say, I think now, authentic Indigenous representation in the media and in mainstream media. And it's exciting because, it took a lot for us to kind of get to this place where even non-Indigenous audiences can identify what is authentic and what's not authentic, and, what is done in collaboration with Indigenous communities, Indigenous voices. If it's not, led by us, it's including us. I think that's such a huge, renaissance of Indigenous cinema, actually, in this day and age. And I think with our 25th year, we're looking back and we really want to celebrate those artists that kind of paved the way for this current generation of filmmakers, because we have so many more opportunities available to us now that weren't available to the artists who kind of got us here today. So it's a very exciting time to be celebrating those works at our festival this year.
And I see you have a panel on AI as well. It's called Artificial Intelligence Based on Indigenous Knowledge Systems. Why was this so important to include this year?
Yeah, well, we know like AI is moving fast. It's developing fast. It's very popular. I think this past year alone, I think it's just grown so immensely. And I think it's an important discussion to have, not just in Indigenous spaces, but all arts, platforms and forums. Just because, I think we all have to figure out a way to kind of navigate using AI as a storytelling tool that benefits the way that we tell stories. Just like how fast everything is moving, there's a lot of concerns about ethics of that and using that. And, Indigenous stories have been so misrepresented and exploited for so long. And it's not something that's new to us or what we've seen in the media since, the beginning of film. But now we're kind of faced with this new technology that, how do we continue telling our stories in an authentic voice? And how does AI fit into that? How do we navigate this kind of new landscape? So it is an important discussion in all areas of the arts, but I think specifically Indigenous. From an Indigenous perspective, it's definitely something that isn't going to go away. So we kind of have to face it.
Right. What would you say some of the biggest challenges are still today facing Indigenous creators?
Oh, funding is a lot of it, to be honest. And really navigating the changes in the way funding is being accessed and finding new creative ways to fund projects. And that's not just within individual film works and productions, but even like a film festival, like for us too. We really had to get creative and find new ways to kind of share resources, I think. I feel like because we've seen funding cuts left and right, and accessibility. So yeah, definitely I think navigating the arts economy now is getting trickier, it seems.
We know June is National Indigenous History Month. Given that, what are you hoping people will take away from your festival?
Well, we're in a very kind of a sweet spot, kicking off the first week of June, being National Indigenous History Month, but also Pride Month, and we have programming that kind of celebrates both those kind of audiences and those communities. So, yeah, I really encourage people to, if they can come to the festival, to come on out and check it out, because so many of our stories are being shared, and it's a result of like our history in this country and our lived experiences in this country, and sharing back, to wider audiences what our stories and histories are like, how we're living in, having those lived experiences today. Yeah.
And for people who can't be in Toronto to physically be there, I know there's going to be an online component to the festival. So what all will be online for people?
Yeah, the online will be but again, to get the full catalog, the full experience in person is best, but not every film is available online because of geo-blocking. But yeah, people could access an online pass through our website at www.imaginative.org. And also, we have a year-round tour program as well, so that will be released in June. So people can book programs that we build out of the official selection for this year's festival. We'll be touring them around the country, all over Canada.
Oh, very good. Well, we hope to see you here in Winnipeg.
Yes, for sure.
Lindsay, thanks for your time and have a great festival.
Okay, thank you so much.
Take care. That is Lindsay Montour, Artistic Director of Imagine Native. Lindsay is Mohawk from the Six Nations of the Grand River. And for more information, you can check out that website, which is imaginative.org. Let's get an update on traffic this afternoon with Chloe.
Hello. 2 stalls I'm keeping an eye on. One is westbound Ness between Mount Royal and Whitewall. That's in your left-hand lane. The other eastbound Abinogi-Meekina just after River Road in the right-hand lane. As well, we are hearing once again of slow-moving traffic in South Osborne because of construction on the St. Vital Bridge, which has been going on for a little while here.
Years? Decades? I don't know. It's been a while, right?
So prepare for some slow-moving traffic if you're headed to South Osborne. And of course, if you have anything to add, 204-788-3093.
I shouldn't say that, but it seems sometimes in some areas of the city you go by, it's like, oh, we're still doing this. I don't see anyone. There's no one here. But they're doing something. I just can't see it right now. I'm Margo Watt in for Faith this week, and you're tuned in to Up to Speed here at CBC. Time now for the CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good afternoon, I'm Julie Buckingham in downtown Winnipeg at 4:30, clouds and 15. Clearing tonight, the low 11. All but essential workers are out of Puckatawagan, that according to band councillor Kelly Linklater. He says there's about 30 people left in the community to keep an eye on the wildfire.
Our security is over there, and some fire protection units just to ensure that there's no fire and the safety of the community is there. And there's also a team that are keeping an eye on the pets, making sure they're not starving.
Meantime, a 17-year-old boy from that community said he had given up hope he'd get out safely. Eli Caribou says the smoke and flames were quickly moving close. He says the aircraft that were supposed to land couldn't due to the smoky conditions.
I was panicking, obviously, everyone was, and we're all scared. I had no hope. I completely gave up. And then there was hope. My brothers kept on telling me, there's hope, just don't worry. And I was all right. And then I'm just glad we got out. I'm just hoping everyone else got out of the community.
Caribou managed to get on a military helicopter on the weekend to finally get out. He's at an evacuation center in Winnipeg now, relieved to be safe. About 600 are staying at the Winnipeg Soccer Federation North Arena on Leela Avenue. Mary Sylvia Caribou is from Puckatawagan and is with the community's emergency measures group. She believes some could go on to Brandon hotels today. Caribou says the accommodations they've got at the complex are okay, but not without challenges.
Showers are really, that's an issue. There's showers, but there's only 3 in each slot, and there's only, I think, 3 showers there's so many of us.
Caribou says they're desperate for donations of baby items like diapers and also need underwear, socks, and shoes for adults and children. Meantime, 600 evacuees from Northern First Nations are being flown out to Ontario today. Garrison Settee is Grand Chief of the MKO and says the group will fly to Hamilton and on to Niagara Falls.
It's not easy. There's a lot of young children that are traumatized, having to leave their homes, some of them for the first time. And I'm thankful that we have the supports that we need. It's never perfect, but we do all we can.
Residents of Puckatawagan, Pimicikamak Cree Nation, and Tatasquiac Cree Nation are under those mandatory evacuation orders. Meantime, Premier Wab Kinew says 1,000 hotel rooms in the Winnipeg area were expected to be available today for evacuees. Kinew expects they'll all be able to settle into those soon.
Let's face the facts. Nobody wants to sleep on a cot for more than a day or two, even in an emergency situation. So we're connecting folks who need those enhanced accessibility supports first, and then broadening it out to everyone else who needs help.
Meantime, opposition leader Abi Khan suggests you're in the dark about the wildfire situation. Today, the Tory leader questioned the government about the latest operations with the Emergency Coordination Centre.
I said, can the Deputy Premier just tell us how communication is happening? How is it being coordinated? Where is it being coordinated? The Deputy Premier had no answers other than their talking points. So when it comes to daily briefings, yes, we should.
Khan says you have a right to know the status of all of the fires and what resources are being used. He adds the province should hold daily news briefings. Again, there are roughly 17,000 people out of their homes due to wildfires burning in the province. Mounties say there's been a drowning at Sturgeon Falls in Whiteshell Provincial Park. RCMP, Manitoba Conservation, and EMS responded early Saturday afternoon after a 38-year-old Winnipeg woman slipped on rocks and fell in the water. Officials say a strong current pulled her into Nudimick Lake. They were able to find her using a boat, and she was rushed to hospital where she later died. The investigation is continuing. One Winnipegger is dead, another is hurt after a crash on Highway 59 at Birds Hill Road. It happened around supper time Saturday. Mounties say a vehicle was driving erratically, lost control, jumped the median, and hit a light standard. The 2 men had to be pulled from the wreckage. The 39-year-old passenger died at the scene, while the driver, who was 31, was airlifted to hospital in critical but stable condition. The investigation is ongoing. And Winnipeg's mayor says city staff are scrambling to find a solution to prevent rodent damage to soccer fields. The province nixed the plan to use sulfur gas to kill ground squirrels. Scott Gillingham doesn't like the decision.
I'm disappointed by this decision because what this does is I think it delays our efforts and the need to control the population so we can fix our fields. I grew up on a farm, a lot of ground squirrels. If you fill in a hole, that hole will be emptied by that ground squirrel within hours.
Gillingham worries children will twist an ankle in a hole caused by the prolifically reproducing mammals. The province says the city hasn't adequately considered alternative methods to the pesticide. That is the CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local CBC News is at 5:30.
They are prolific, unfortunately. Let's take a look at our forecast now. Riley Leshuk is back with us. Hey, Riley.
Good afternoon. We have started to see that haze kind of dispersing a little bit as we've gotten through the day today. That has resulted in a shift in some of those air quality statements that we've seen for parts of the province. I mean, still at a warning level for the bulk of northern Manitoba, but the warnings that were in place for Winnipeg have now ended. Air Quality Health Index is the numerical system that Environment Canada uses to measure this. Today, Winnipeg was at about a 6 out of 10 on that scale, which means moderate risk. If you're susceptible or have respiratory issues, another day to plan around that. But as we get into the day on Tuesday and we see a bit of a shift in pattern, we will see that decreasing down to a 4 or a 5 through the day tomorrow. So not as hazy tomorrow, helped in part by some of that rain that pushed through as this cold front swept through southern Manitoba through the day today. Looking at 11 degrees overnight in Winnipeg, up to 23 tomorrow afternoon. Risk of an isolated thunderstorm as we get through the afternoon tomorrow. And temperatures staying around seasonal as we get through the rest of the work week. So not as hot. There's a little bit of rain in the forecast for northern Manitoba. There's an area of low pressure sitting over the territorial boundary, and what that has done is spread some rain south toward Lynn Lake. I'm thinking 10 millimeters